Folks, we have so much to talk about tonight. We are talking about, of course, Dan Bongino being made the deputy director of the FBI. We're talking about Kash Patel. We're talking about DOGE. We're talking about Jemele Hill on CNN. But, folks, if you're here thinking that we are going to somehow go in on Joy Reid being fired from MSNBC, if you are thinking that we are going to somehow talk badly about this Black woman being fired from MSNBC, folks, you're in the right place. It's coming up next.
My show had value, and that that what I was doing had value. And in the end, I try not to cry on TV. And this is kind of like me on TV, so I apologize. And then it mattered. I see Karen is there, and she's been texting me as well. And so what I will just say is that in the end, thank you. Where I land is that the moment of guilt that I felt, that I went hard on so many issues, whether it was the Black Lives Matter issues of a young baby or a mom or a dad that was killed, or when we opened up people's eyes to the fact that Asian Americans were being targeted and not just Black folks, or went hard for immigrants who've done nothing but come to this country like my parents did and try to make a life and defended them, or whether we've talked about what the president is doing that is subversive to the Constitution, that is injurious to our liberty, defending books that people find inconvenient, that Nicole Hannah-Jones put into our spirit, that we need to understand 1619 as the real founding of this country, whether it's talking about any of these issues, and yes, whether it's talking about Gaza and the fact that we as the American people have a right to object, to little babies being bombed. And where I come down on that is I'm not sorry. I am not sorry that I stood up for those things, because those things are of God. And I'm a church girl too, and those are the things that I was taught were of God. And so I'm not sorry. I'm just
be leaders ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Black women are being used by the Democrat Party.
All of these socioeconomic indicators are in the negative, particularly for Black people.
They want mob rule. When Trump was in office, please somebody tell me, what act of dictatorship did he perform?
She had Donald Trump's hair on top of her head. And she's sitting here talking about brown girl this, brown girl that.
Because she's a Black woman.
They would ask her how to spell her first name and clap like sea monkeys.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
What's up, everybody? It is Monday. This is our Monday Night Live, and it's time for Pop and Politics. I'm KJ. Let me introduce you to my co-hosts. Of course, back with us tonight is Soldiers of Finance with us, Tyrone Keys. We also have Nicole Bennett and Shelly E. All right, before we dive in, and believe me, we have a lot to talk about tonight. Please do me a favor, tap that thumbs up and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed so already, what are you waiting for? But certainly hit that like button. It helps to amplify our voice here on YouTube. We are on YouTube. We are on Rumble. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify under the name Pop and Politics. We love our chat. We shout out all of our super chats throughout the night. So it's the best way to get your voice heard in the conversation and to show your love for conservative content. This is not just a podcast. This is a movement of God-fearing, truth-seeking, America-loving people that value freedom. Stand with us and subscribe so we can amplify this rallying call for freedom. All right, everybody, let's set it off. Oh my goodness. Joy Reid was fired. Folks, you probably already know, but her terrible reign is over after almost 5 years. Joy Reid's second MSNBC. This isn't the first, this is the second show. The Reid Out has been canceled. As you can see, she was crying today about it. News broke yesterday, and she got on a Zoom today and was bawling about this being canceled. Shelly, you heard her. She said her show provided value. Do you agree with that?
Value in the pits. That's where the value was provided. Look, her chapter has been ripped, not just read, it's been ripped. So it's gone, it's over. Move on. I'm sorry, I am not crying about it. I'm sorry. I'm forgive me, but I'm not upset about it at all. The ratings were abysmal. She had less than 1 million viewers. I mean, 1 million on prime time. Why should she not be gone? Oh, I know, like Tamron Hall and these others, because she's a Black woman. So she's supposed to stay. No, bye, bitch. Bye.
Nicole, I mean, what did you think when you saw that? I mean, she went through a litany of things. First, she said she was her show provided value. Then she ended it with she's a church girl. What did you think of that?
I think it added value because we could use it for content, just to show the dichotomy of the two parties' ways of thinking. What I found most interesting is this person who has spewed hate across 2 primetime shows. Shelley's right, not just one, across 2 primetime shows, a YouTube channel, and various other social media. Hate, had the audacity to say that she's a church girl. Dare I say she burst in the flames if she goes across the archway of any type of church. She ought to be ashamed of herself. But we know her to be very wealthy, that $3 million a year for her show, you know, cry me. Here, I'm gonna pull a Shuddy. Cry me a river, honey, cry me a river. She got $100 bills dabbing at her cheeks. Girl, get over it. No one's going to miss you. They're going to replace you with younger people with the same kind of foolishness that you talked about. Michael Steele and Simone and Alyssa Menendez are going to take over her spot. Yeah. And spew just as much hate, but instead of from one person, it's going to come from 3 people now. So they haven't learned a lesson. MSNBC is still going to be hot dumpster fire, but there'll be a hot dumpster fire without her. And that has to hurt.
Yeah. Tyrone, what did you think when you heard the news?
Have you ever seen A Soldier Story? Movie came out a long time ago. It has a character in it named Sergeant Waters. It's got Denzel in it. You might want to check it out. Mm-hmm. Sergeant Waters says, the day of the Geechee is over. Okay. And that's what we're seeing right here. The cornbread jigaboos, Chitlin Circuit BS is coming to an end. Okay. This woman sat up there and preached about DEI and all that. And then she found out that if you're not actually performing, we don't give a damn how Black you are. You could be blue-black. If you can't sell these ads, you got to get up off of our airwaves. Now, she said she was a church girl, which reminded me that MSNBC also has a so-called reverend on their airwaves. And why is he still around?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever seen the outtakes of him? He can't even read. Okay.
No, it's sad.
Why is Al Sharpton still there? Will he be leaving soon?
Hopefully the whole place burns to a crisp. But this woman is so delirious. She just does not realize, or maybe she does, how nasty of a person she is, or at least came across on TV. You know, she cried her eyes out today after finding out about the cancellation, yet she was making fun of Brett Kavanaugh and other people's so-called white tears. Take a look at this. This is clip 10.
But in America, there's a thing about both white vigilantism and white tears, particularly male white tears. Really white tears in general, because that's what Karens are, right? they Karen out, and then as soon as they get caught, it's like, Green Waterworks. White men can get away with that too. And it has the same effect. Even as the right tries to politicize the idea that masculinity is being robbed from American men by multiculturalism and wokeism, they still want to be able to have their tears.
The evening after Kyle Rittenhouse tearfully testified at his murder trial in Wisconsin, like a mini Brett Kavanaugh. Let me just remind people of the names of the victims. Joseph Rosenbaum, who was 36 years old, Anthony Huber, who was 26, Gage Grosskreutz, who's only 27 years old, was injured. These are the victims. These are the people that people ought to remember are the people who were hurt here, not the person who was crying on the stand today.
Wow. You see how nasty this woman is? And then see how God comes back around with stuff? She claims she talks so badly about Brett Kavanaugh, and I remember when she talked badly about the young boy. What was his name? Kyle Rittenhouse. I mean, she is miserable. And now here she is with her black tears, I guess you call it, crying on TV because of her show being canceled.
Look, another thing I loved was that not only is Joy being canceled, but her time slot, they're getting 3 for the price of 1. So if that's DEI, hey, I guess MSNBC said we're going to maximize these DEI rewards, and we're going to get whoever with Simone, Michael Steele, and Menendez. So they're getting all 3 quote unquote minorities to fill her 1 black slot. I love it.
Yeah, and you guys heard her as she went on in that rant, that sobbing rant, talking about how her show provided value, how she defended books that people found inconvenient. She's talking particularly how she had Moms for Liberty on the show, and what she actually defended is she wanted our children to hear about dildos and butt plugs. Here she is in this next clip 9.
The question I'm asking is, what is the expertise that you have and other Moms for Liberty advocates have to decide that a book, an award-winning book like All Boys Aren't Blue, isn't appropriate for students to read? What is your expertise?
What a tragic story of a young man who's anally raped by his adult family member. So you have incest, rape, pedophilia. Joy, you said you'd let me answer, so I'm going to answer
Please
for you. In what context is a strap-on dildo acceptable for public school? That's my question to you. Tell me what the context around the strap-on dildo or the rape of a minor child by a teacher.
Hold on a second.
No, we're talking about public school.
One moment.
All right.
So now you've asked me questions.
Sure.
I'm going to answer it.
Okay.
Well, who is the main character? What's the name of the main character in All Boys Aren't Blue?
You're asking me right now.
You just gave me very specific information about this book, so you're presenting yourself as somebody expert.
It's the gentleman.
Who's the main character in the book?
The main character is the author.
What's his name?
George, I believe, is his first name.
Because you're giving me very specific information that is.
You're asking me to remember the name of an author.
You just remembered very specific names.
Joy.
Here's my question.
We're talking about strap. You didn't answer my question.
No. I'm going to answer your question.
Great. I would love to hear that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm interviewing you, and you're not interviewing me. So let's just make sure it's a conversation. Okay.
Great.
So what I'm saying to you is that as you are not an expert in this book,
I don't have to be an expert to know that dildos aren't appropriate for public school. I mean, come on, let's get real.
This is a full context story, as you said, of the author's experience. Why is it your right or a Moms for Liberty activist's right to say that a parent who wants their child to have access to this book, which gives a personal experience of this author, why doesn't a liberal parent, for instance, or a parent of an LGBTQ kid, why don't they have a right for their child to just have access to this book? Why is it your right to say they can't?
So again, we're talking about incest, rape, and pedophilia.
And each parent, each parent has to decide what is appropriate for their child to read. So I want you to answer. I'm going to ask you one more time. Right. What is your right to tell a parent who wants their child, who might feel seen by this story, why don't they have the right? Why don't they have the right as a parent to say, my child can have access to this book?
If a child feels seen by this story, that means that they have been the victim of a predator. That means that they have either been raped by a family member, they've experienced
and you're proof.
Wow.
She's sick.
Isn't she sick? Shelly, what did you think? This is the church girl. Remember,
Let me tell you what the rights and authorities are for any parent to say that, even if you believe that your child is to see that crap. I would say no. Number one, it's abusive, it's wrong, it's inappropriate. What child needs to know, or in public school no less, to read about somebody strapping on a dildo and screwing them in their ass? We call that pedophilia, incest, like the lady was saying. Joy, she's so left and trying to be so, I don't even know the word, that she's going to overlook that a young child in a book is being screwed, anally screwed by an adult strapping on a dildo, all for the sake of protecting some parents' rights. No, children don't need to know that, and they damn sure don't need to know it if it's actually happened to them. They need to be protected and cared for. Joy, how about you?
Yeah, Tyrone. I mean, this is the church girl. Remember, the church girl is advocating for these children to learn about rape, anal rape, and dildos and things like. This is the church girl she's talking about.
You got to remember, a few years back, she was caught in a scandal about some social media posts that she'd made that were critical of the LGBTQ community, and ever since then, I've believed that she has been 100% co-opted to be as radical left as anyone could be. And they obviously have no use for her anymore because she's not making them money. But I think that, and I'm not saying she doesn't believe this, but it's a heck of a switch that she made from that scandal to where she is now. And it just shows that what we've got in the media are people who have very little self-awareness, no scruples, will parrot anything. And look, this is a woman advocating sexual violence to children. That's what she's doing. And you want to protect children. And look, a child, they've got a very limited period of innocence. Okay. Why not let them have that? No one in the history of mankind who wanted to be gay, hey, if that's what you want to do when you reach puberty or beyond, okay. But a child should be allowed to maintain their innocence. And if you're interfering with that, you are one sick person.
Yeah, she's sick. And she said, Nicole, so again, this is the church girl advocating for these types of books. And I'll even say this. You had gays against groomers. You had a lot of people in the LGBT community that says, look, I may be, LGBT, but I want no parts of this stuff. I don't want my kids reading this type of crap. What did you think of this, Nicole?
Listen, this is all a part of a certain part of that community's idea to normalize things that are absolutely abhorrent. And like Tyrone said, here's a time when Joy was caught with her hand in the cookie jar with these folks. They were angry at her. She was quote unquote re-educated. And this was her flexing that re-education. There is nowhere in a public school system for this kind of quote unquote education to exist. Nowhere. Because Tiffany Justice is right. If a child can relate to this, then the police need to be involved. Absolutely. If a child says, this is my story, the police need to be involved.
Absolutely.
There is nothing wrong with teaching children geography because most of their parents can't find the Gulf of America on the map, even when it says Gulf of America. Okay. There's nothing wrong with teaching children human sexuality in a high school level, right? It's very important that you know what's going on with your body and that kind of thing. But raping children with a strap on, if you read that at a school board meeting, they'd arrest you.
Oh, yeah.
They would call the police, handcuffs on you, and drag you out of there kicking and screaming. And then the internet would take hold and have you canceled from your job, all your civic organizations, and everything else. If it's too strong for adults, what makes it right for children? And I applaud Tiffany for just calling her out on what kind of human being are you? Right. And this is the same woman that's crying whole tears, dabbing her face with $100 bills because she lost her $3 million job. Really?
And let's not forget, this is all occurring against the backdrop of a government school system that's not even in the top 15 internationally. Okay. And so you find time for this?
Oh, yeah. Well, you guys know, if you all who have been watching us for a long time, I went and read at a school board here in Maryland. We were trying to get some books all out of the public library in the school. The book that I read from was called Push by Sapphire. It was found in many middle schools all over Maryland. And it was the same thing. It talked about rape. It talked about, all types of sexual intercourse. It was disgusting. All types of N-words and curse words throughout it. And, when I read it, people were like, oh my gosh. But you get to realize that you don't want to hear this. And our kids were actually listening to and reading these types of stories. It's ridiculous. But this is the church girl. She did the same thing when she's talked about defending Gaza's little babies. But she so quick to talk about abortion and pushing abortion on demand, which she did year after year on her show. Is she delusional?
No, she's believing what they say. Yeah. This is a part of their re-indoctrination of the American culture, right? They want this to become normal. This is why they're feeding it to children. For us in this generation, they're writing us off. They're like, they'll never believe. But if we start now with these children, they'll grow up thinking that quote unquote sex work, what we call prostitution or whoring, let's call it what it is normal. Whether you're gay or straight, but especially if you're gay, because there are going to be times in your life, young gay person, that you're going to have to sell your body, and you should be okay with that. No shame.
That's right. Well, look, when I was coming up, maybe all of you, I knew gay people, on my block. They did not promote this stuff. Mm-hmm. They did not. They were still protective of children, their innocence. Go out and play. They didn't promote their sexuality. They were gay. You would see them with other guys, but they didn't. They weren't flamboyant, if you will. They were not out in the open with it. That's one thing. Any civilization, let me say this, any civilization, any culture, any group, if you will, one of the purposes of that group culture is to reproduce itself, right? So the left always, just like the right, anybody needs to reproduce whatever ideology it is purporting and it is putting out. So where do you start? You want to start as young as possible. That's their goal. If you start as young as possible, you get their minds effed up earlier and sooner, and it makes it that much harder to, if you will, convert them, if that's the word you want to use, or to retrain them, things like that. They know what they're doing in that sense, but what they are doing is no less evil.
Yeah. And when I know that when I was coming of age here in the 80s, okay, literally, if they had an initiative like this in the public school system, I can guarantee you that it would have been a riot. Parents would have literally gone to the school, and there would have been a huge problem. Right. Like the Eagles song, someone would have gone to emergency, and some people would have went to jail. Okay, because that was just not acceptable. I literally did not know what gay was until I was in my mid-teens. Okay, after I was a big G.I. Joe and Transformers fan. Then I discovered teenage girls, and that all changed. And then after that, I'm like, gay? What? Okay. And I'm like, what up? And there were two, later on we found out, because our people used to say, oh, they're funny. That's what they used to say. If anybody gets offended, so what? That's what was the norm. Okay. And they, adults would just leave it at that. Oh, they're funny. Okay. There were two guys on our block who cohabitated, and later we found out they were gay. But they were like, if you were a kid, you didn't know that. Okay. And they didn't advertise it. They went to work, mowed the grass, and, acted like everybody else. So it wasn't something that was You know, back in the 80s, if they tried to voice this on kids, people would have been up in arms, man.
Yeah. I mean, we are still trying to do it at this point. You know, you do have people who are going to the school boards, who are going to the PTA meetings, you know, who are protesting these things. More and more people are doing it, thank God. And you know what? I'm actually happy for shows like Joy Reid's, because it shows people that this stuff is real. She was letting people know day after day that the left has gone all the way crazy. But I'm so happy that she has been canceled. The show is gone. This has been a wonderful, wonderful month. I mean, not just month, but several weeks since President Trump came into office. I mean, with his appointments, then Joy Reid is canceled. It's Christmas come early. It is Christmas come early. And that takes me to this next conversation. First, I want to get to our super chats. Thank you all so much for your super chats tonight. We certainly appreciate you. Laura, thank you so much. All right. And let's see here. Kung Fu CJ says she is a racist and been a racist. Absolutely. Tijuana Border Jumper, the $10 super chat, says liked and shared. Finally, joy to the world. Always here to support. Thank you so much, Tijuana Border Jumper. Yes, we certainly appreciate it. Yes, this has been a wonderful Black History Month. Wonderful, because this woman does not represent us. She does not represent Black people well. And so this is one of the best Black History Months I've had in a long time, because he has been given the can. She has been given the can. And that leads me to next, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. So we already knew the announcement we heard earlier last week, that Kash Patel was confirmed as the FBI director. He'll also actually run the ATF. But then yesterday, the news, Dan Bongino will be his partner at the top. He has been appointed to be the deputy director of the FBI. Folks, this is another jewel in the crown. Before we all get involved with this one, take a look at him announcing this on his show today. This is clip 5.
It couldn't have been nicer. And I obviously keep the contents of it between us, but I think you get the gist about what it was about. And kind of broke down a bit, because it was, this is now real.
Wow.
So President, Attorney General Bondi, and now director, gosh, that sounds good to say, FBI director Kash Patel offered this role, a role I expressed an interest in. And ladies and gentlemen, I told you, you see, it's hard for me. I'm going to accept the role.
This is somebody that takes this stuff very seriously. He loves this country. Do you see the emotion that he felt in that exchange, Nicole? I mean, this is going to be great, I think. What do you think?
It's going to be amazing. So before President Trump had settled in on Kash Patel, there was a lot of talk around Capitol Hill that it would be Dan Bongino that would be tapped. He was always in the top 3 as they rank people down. Kash is an amazing human being, and he's going to be an amazing FBI director and ATF head. But I couldn't think of anybody to number 2 Kash better than Dan. They are like the peanut butter and jelly, the coffee and the creamer. They are going to make such a good team because neither one of these guys are going to let anybody get away with anything. Dan Bongino, for people who don't know him, yes, he's absolutely a patriot. He loves this country. He loves this state. I don't know why he loves this state, but he does. He absolutely adores this state. But these are men who see the world from a different purview than your average American. When you're willing to risk your life to save our way of life, it puts you in a different class of human being. And both of these men fit that bill.
Yes, yes, soldiers of finance. What did you think about that? I know you like Dan Bongino too.
Well, I like the fact that we've got so many people in this administration who are real people, okay? Not deep state bureaucrats who have been around DC. Do you remember what was Trump's first attorney general back in 2016?
I'm gonna look it up.
Was it?
Was it S, wasn't it? From Alabama.
Yeah, he was
Sessions. It was Sessions.
Yeah,
I think it was.
Sessions.
He was a deep state mole and monster, and he sat there idle while the lawfare effort started against Trump, and he recused himself. He did absolutely nothing. And Trump has said on multiple occasions, you know, he came into the office and he was a New York guy. He didn't know anybody in DC, and so he took a lot of recommendations, and he got absolute garbage. He got this guy, this sleazeball up in New York with Skybridge, Scaramucci, the mobster, the wannabe mobster. He got two generals that were just Mad Dog Mattis and another clown that turned out to be just absolute garbage. This time is totally different. All right. Pete Hegseth is a real person. Hell, look at Tulsi Gabbard having been persecuted by the Democrat Party. So I think that this is a revolution that has taken place, and Democrats and many Republicans are running scared, Googling criminal defense lawyers,
and as they should be, they should be. I have a super chat here. So thank you all so much. We have a super chat here. Michael Cantwell, as part of our Freedom Seekers Club, says, "This is how I feel about pop in politics, willing to sacrifice themselves to get the word out." Thank you, Michael. Yes, indeed. Thank you. Yeah. Laura says, "Yes, Tiffany." And Kung Fu CJ says, "Sessions is the one who prosecuted me." Wow. We didn't know that. Okay. Dan Bongino, like you all have said, is a real person, and we are in for a treat.
Proudly.
MAGA is winning and keeps on winning. I want to bring you guys just a reminder of who Dan Bongino, like he can get down and dirty with the best of them. This is clip 4 with him with Geraldo Rivera, and Geraldo Rivera is probably somewhere losing his mind.
I want to see the country burn. You son of a bitch. I want to see the country burn, you punk.
Geraldo knows everything, apparently. Despite the fact he knows nothing.
Dan, stop arguing over time. Now it's your turn. You have the mic.
Yeah, they did an actual study on police contacts and found no systemic racism. It was the Department of Justice, their Bureau of Justice statistics, but he doesn't know any of that. But secondly, this is again why being a reporter about police.
What, you have a 10-minute career as a cop?
Geraldo, you got it.
You've been running for office for the last 20 years.
Take a Valium.
Geraldo,
You've been talking forever. People like Geraldo continue to pump out a race narrative with no data to back it up at all. There are hundreds of thousands of police officers and millions of police contacts with black Americans in the course of each day. If there was a plague of police officers hunting black men down at night, then I don't understand if that's happening. Where is this massive body count we would see?
This man, Sean, this man is why they have that rage.
Data
this
to back
man
it up.
with this baloney.
He doesn't know anything about that woman.
He doesn't
know anything about that woman. Anything. He's injecting race into the argument because he has nothing else.
Mr. Rhetoric.
That's why.
Right. You tell that to the black families that see their sons being killed.
That's all you
twice the rate
of
white.
You got nothing else, buddy.
That's
nothing else.
That's a fact.
You've got nothing else. All you want to do is see the country burn. You just want to see the country burn. That's it.
I want to see the country burn. You son of a bitch. I want to see the country burn. You punk.
Wow. What in the world? You guys remember when that aired?
I absolutely do. I absolutely do remember that.
Oh,
look, Geraldo has been around. Geraldo also is known to blow his top every now and then. I think he's on Newsmax or News One or something like that. He's on there.
News One. Yeah.
But Dan has been, I'm going to call it in the trenches, if you will, for a long time, particularly since at least 2016. Now, remember, people are going to say, some people are going to say, he's just a Trump acolyte or whatever. No, he actually served, I think, since 2006 under Bush, and before that, and then under Obama. And so he has his time, if you will. He's given his time in service. Ooh. I was so ecstatic. I thought the movies actually came to life with Bad Boys. That's all I could see was Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. I thought I think this, I know the other picks are wonderful and great, but I think this pick is the high point for me. I was so happy. It's almost as if, maybe it is to a degree, that Dan, it's like his service and his time, his sacrifice is now finally being rewarded. And I know he said it's not the money, things like that. But it was tearful because I knew he was going to have to leave his show, and he has worked so hard, getting that show up to where it is. But this is another reward for his hard work, and I am so proud of him. I'm proud of him.
Yeah. It's a great day for America, a great day for patriots. I mean, the good news just keeps on coming with this administration. Ever since President Trump was elected, I mean, we have had a steady stream of nothing but good news. It is like 30 days of MAGA. This is what I'm calling it on the 40th day of MAGA. What did God give to us? He gave us Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, and then a partridge on a pear tree was Joy Reid getting canned and fired. I actually take that back. She got fired, but the cherry on top was seeing her whine and cry like the nasty witch that she is. I'm sorry. I generally don't like to be happy when bad things happen to people, but this is a good thing for the country, a good thing for it. So this is it. Yeah. And speaking of all this stuff, if we really wanted to, I mean, if you guys want to see me run the streets like I got the Holy Ghost in church, we let them get rid of the view. Let them get rid of the view. I'd start speaking in tongues and everything right on the show. I mean, this would be a good thing.
We did a live stream this afternoon on Soldiers of Finance, and I looked at the views ratings. Actually, Harris Faulkner gets better ratings than the View.
Yep.
So they might not be too long for this world, especially if they don't make changes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I don't see them changing anytime soon, and this next clip proves that. So you guys know, I don't know if you know, the SAG Awards were on this weekend. That is the Screen Actors Guild Awards. So of course, all the elitists in Hollywood get up there and they talk about politics as they accept their speeches and things. And so of course, this year was no different. And guess who they had on the podium? Jane Fonda. What they call her, Shelley?
Hanoi Jane.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. Thank you, Nicole and Soldiers of Finance. Yes. So she was not, like, as of usual, she was the same, spouting off this woke ideology. Take a look. The View was responding to it. Clip 8.
Award season always gets a little political, but last night's Screen Actors Guild Awards, when actress and longtime activist Jane Fonda accepted her Lifetime Achievement Award, she had something to say. Take a look.
What we create is empathy. Make no mistake, empathy is not weak or woke. And by the way, woke just means you give a damn about other people. Even if they're of a different political persuasion, we need to call upon our empathy and not judge, but listen from our hearts and welcome them into our tent, because we are going to need a big tent to resist successfully what's coming at us.
So are people going to take the message to heart? These are two different questions, neither which I really want to ask. But
what do you want to know?
When you heard her say that, which is, inclusion, what'd you think?
I loved that. I loved that tone because I think when you, the reason as an independent I lean left is the empathy. It's so easy and natural to have empathy for people that are oppressed, minorities, LGBTQ+, you name it, any group.
What about the conversations you and I have had, Whoopi, so many times about the co-opting of the word woke? And the fact that the right somehow has made it a dirty word. To be woke is a word that came out of the African American community, and it was about acknowledging social justice inequities, acknowledging people suffering. It is not a bad thing to care about other people, to care about the sufferings of others, and to act upon it. And so Whoopi will often tell me, well, I've never been asleep. And that's how I feel. My parents, they grew up in the civil rights movement. I grew up in the late 60s, 70s. I was always a part of it. And so I've never been asleep. And so it angers me when people are like, this woke stuff, it's got to go. That's telling me that you don't care about my lived experience. You don't care about the oppression of the LGBTQ community. You don't.
Yeah, we don't care.
Right.
We really don't.
They finally got one thing right. They're absolutely right. I don't care about your lived experience, princess. I really don't. I have no desire to sit and listen to Hanoi Jane talk trash about American politics, empathy, and where's your heart? Really, bitch? Really? The audacity with these folks are off the charts. Sitting there saying, well, I have empathy and inclusion for everybody. When you drag conservative people every single damn day of the week, they've got something nasty to say about President Trump. They talk trash about his wife, his kids, everything. Tell me again about how you want Republicans to lay down the sword. We're going to keep our foot on the gas, team. That's what we're going to do. We're going to keep our foot on the gas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Shelly, you heard what she said. Did you hear what the other lady, the first lady that spoke with the blonde hair? She talks about empathy for minorities, people that are oppressed, LGBT. Why? Just because they're minority? Just because they're LGBT? Why are we required to have empathy just because of someone chooses to sleep with the same sex?
Because these people, these are the type of people, they think of us as little pets, as animals, the little, what they call them, the emotional service dogs or animals, the little ones, the little bitch yappers that you see people walking with and they're carrying like children. That's why they think of us. They think that we are, we're imbeciles, that we can't think, that we can't make decisions, that we just can't figure things out without them, okay, I like you, I have empathy for you. That's how they think of us. They are full of it. I wanted to respond. If you all go back and watch that clip, I gotta say this because when I heard it, I was livid. When Anna gave her little part, why did that bitch use my words?
What?
Anna said that people should show up, speak up, and stand up. I've been saying that last year about people should show up, speak up, stand up, and I say strap up. That bitch plagiarized me and did not give me credit for it. This is what we get on the video. Are you serious? When I heard that, I did a double take. Like, wait a minute. No, she did not just say that. So that tells me that they're watching us. But bitch, Anna, I'm going to kind of find a way to communicate to you and your producers because you owe me an acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Agreed, Shelly.
Yeah. Tyrone, what did you think of that exchange? And particularly about what Sonny Holston said, that woke, there's nothing wrong with woke. Is that the case?
There's a lot wrong with woke. This whole thing about, you can be empathetic on your own and knock yourself out. But when you start to meld it with the political, economic, social direction of the country, that's when we start having a problem. Okay, especially in a country like America, that's a melting pot. Okay, so the fact that they even platformed Jane Fonda gives you a clear window into who they are. Okay, this is a woman that should have been tried for treason.
Exactly.
She served as a piece of propaganda for the Viet Cong against American prisoners held in Vietnam. Wow. Nobody seen, a lot of people don't remember that because that's what she's famous for. Jane Fonda really didn't have any movie credits to speak of that were extraordinary. She was just Peter Fonda's daughter. And she went over with her silver spoon, sat on a cannon, an anti-aircraft cannon that had been used to bring down maybe John McCain's jet. Okay. Wow. And she just lapped it up. So the fact that now here she is decades later and is being platformed by, these shrews at The View, who most of which are probably too dumb to even realize who Jane Fonda is just deplorable.
Yeah.
They probably just remember her from the workout videos.
That's probably it.
Yeah, I agree. With this whole idea of woke, of course it's bad. It's not, it used to be, well, I won't even say woke. I mean, as far as the left is concerned, the left used to be, it's particularly when you talk, let's say, about feminism, in the early 1900s, it was about women's suffrage. Then you had the second wave feminism, which was about Title IX in the 70s, the Civil Rights Act. They fought for women, against domestic violence, fought for homeless women's shelters and things like that. Now you've gone into the woke, and the woke is this girls gone wild feminism. So, not only are they're not fighting for equality, they're fighting for the right to equate porn with liberation. So it's, the inclusion thing is how women should be able to sleep with as many people as, this is the idea of feminism. Slut yourself out. Women are no longer independent. Now they're whores. And this is sort of mainstream. And then they push this on as young as, elementary school girls and up. This is what woke is. Woke is this idea that, the transgender narrative and ideology where, we're no longer fighting for women. We're fighting for, as Shelley would say, men with dicks who want to be chicks. So this is woke, and it's awful. It's horrible. So for them to sit there and say that that's not the case, is way off.
Woke is beyond liberal. This is why, sometimes I get a pet peeve when people use the word liberal, and it's not. Liberalism, classic liberalism, is way different than what we have as woke today. So woke is ultra left or far left, as they would say, progressive. Anything that can be turned upside down will be turned upside down, and then it's presented as normal or good or right or practical or whatever. And not only that, woke even goes a little bit further, that after they twist it upside down, they get the lawfare, if you will, and the media, they want to force you to believe it.
Yeah.
You think about how many people were fired from work for not using someone else's preferred pronouns, right? You think about those moments when they took the idea of consciousness, which they're saying woke used to be, probably in the 70s, I don't know. But if that was the thing then, they took this thing and did what Democrats do. They play with language and they make it mean something that it didn't start out being. Hopefully, that you won't make the connection. And what the right has successfully done is said, no. This is not the woke of the 70s. This is, books about little boys getting screwed by their teacher with the strap on. That's what's woke today. When you play with language, we have to toe the line with them. Just the same thing we did with all those stupid pronouns. What's your pronoun? What's your pronoun? I refuse.
Right.
Absolutely. Exactly. We should all continue to refuse and also call them out for this, because they've been, this is like the third time I've heard this on the left recently. They're trying to give this whole idea of woke a facelift.
Yeah,
as good as Jane Fonda's. So, we got to push back against this stuff and call it for what it is. I do want to acknowledge our super chatters. Thank you all so much. We certainly appreciate you all. We have so many people watching tonight, almost 500 people watching. Please hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe. We want to keep people like Joy Reid. We want to keep them canceled and amplify people like us. So please hit that like button. All right, so let's see who we have here for our super chats tonight. Tijuana Border Jumper with the $5 super chat says woke equals morally broke.
That's the way to put it.
Perfect.
Yes, it is. Kung Fu CJ says, KJ, amen. Trump playing chess, not checkers. Yes, he is. Yes. All right. PB Hardy with the $10 super chat says, maybe Joy, Crockett, and Geraldo can get jobs on The View. As for Jane Fonda, she was too quiet while LA was burning. I'm done with her, but she looks great though. Yeah,
she does look great. She looks good.
Does.
Yeah. Kung Fu CJ says Fonda is a communist and has recruiting young people for years. This is why your children think socialism is better than capitalism. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. It's terrible. It is absolutely terrible. So we got to continue to fight back with the truth against these people. We really do. All right. So, and one thing I wanted to talk about is the idea, so the left all constantly play on race. They're always saying, you got to be on the side of the brown and people. Well, we didn't hear them cheer for Kash Patel when he became the FBI director. He's a brown person. I didn't see any celebrations on the left for him. So what happened there?
Remember, there is always a hierarchy. I don't care what side you're on, but certainly for the left, these communists, there's a hierarchy. And Kash Patel, as brown as he is, or brown and black, whatever they call it, he doesn't fit the ideology. So he does not uphold, not even does he uphold it. He doesn't even, promulgate the ideology of the left. There is still a hierarchy. People keep seeming to think that everybody on the left, on the communists, you're all equal in this one big pot. No, you're not. You are deluding yourself, or either you're just ignorant as far as communism or what communism is and how it works. It's still a hierarchy.
Okay.
And add to that, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, is openly gay. Recent appointee by Trump. You don't see any celebration of that on the left.
Scott Turner, the HUD secretary, black man from the South,
right? Right? Yeah.
No claps for him.
Isn't Pam Bondi the first female attorney general?
No, Loretta Lynch.
No, it was the tall woman.
Janet
Reno. Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, we will continue to keep them in line and push back against the lies. All right. So here's something I wanted to talk about today with you guys. DOGE. So we've been talking about DOGE now for the last couple of weeks. Of course, all of us are pretty happy as to what we're seeing happening, but the media has been really on the heels of Elon Musk and President Trump about DOGE. And also we're seeing some people on the right now talking about DOGE, particularly the firings within the federal government. So I want you all to take a look at this clip. I want to post this question to the chat also. Do you all think that President Trump, Elon Musk, and DOGE have gone too far with the federal firings, with the federal jobs that people have been fired, laid off, what have you? Take a look at this. This is clip one.
We should note, again, and you and I have said this in the air many times, there is no evidence that Joe Biden was, involved in any wrongdoing.
Of course, want to note that there is no evidence that Joe Biden or Hunter Biden has done anything wrong. I just want to reiterate.
And let's be clear for the viewers.
There is no evidence Biden did anything wrong.
Governor, you got a second?
Literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
This is why independent media is so important. Thanks to people like you, patriots who love America and stand for truth, we're making a difference. Together, we've turned them off, called them out for their lies and propaganda, and held them accountable for their disdain for God-fearing, freedom-loving Americans like us. But we can't stop here. It's time to take action with our dollars. Let's make 2025 the year we double down on our commitment to values-driven choices. Vote with your dollars. Support Made in America. Back companies that honor our families, faith, and country. We found an exciting way to make this switch, and we want you to join us. Check out www.popandswitch.com and click Yes, I Want to Make the Switch. It's that easy. It's time to walk away from corporations like BlackRock and Vanguard that undermine our principles. Let's invest in America. Let's support businesses that share our love for this country. You don't have to take on everything at once, but you can start here. Join us in making this one small yet powerful step. Visit www.popandswitch.com. Click the link and schedule a call with our team to learn how you can make the switch. Together, we can create real change.
A blow up of a town hall that Congressman Rich McCormick got in Georgia, a kind of rural part of the state. Just listen to this.
Tyranny is rising in the White House, and a man has declared himself our king. So I would like to know, rather, the people would like to know what you, congressmen, and your fellow congressmen are going to do to rein in the megalomaniac in the White House.
When you talk about tyranny, when you talk about presidential power, I remember having the same discussion with Republicans when Biden was elected.
I stand corrected, a more suburban district, yes, but a pretty safe seat for him. And it was like that for the whole town hall. It was not pretty.
I think one thing that gets lost about the federal government is that it is the #1 employer in the United States. And no matter what people think about government employees not working hard enough, you don't have this job security, whatever it is. Once you start having mass layoffs at the #1 employer in America, that is going to not just affect the people you're talking to, the people related to the people that you're talking to, all the way around. That is, I think that seemed like a better play in their minds than it's turning out to be an application, especially since it doesn't appear to make any sense.
Maybe angry constituents, maybe Congress people freaking out, maybe Jesse Waters freaking out. I don't know. Do we have time to play Jesse Waters? Let's play it real quick.
He just found out he's probably going to get laid off. He's going to get doged. This guy's not a DEI consultant. This guy's not a climate consultant. This guy is a veteran. We just need to be a little bit less callous with the way, Harold, we talk about doging people. Thousands of bureaucrats woke up today to a big "you're fired." DOGE is dishing out spankings like daddy daycare. Even the holiday weekend couldn't slow DOGE down. There was a huge exodus over at the National Archives. Persnickety librarians were getting doged silly. The Dewey Decimal System's next. DOGE is a blessing from the heavens above.
Well, somebody woke up and discovered that the federal government employs a lot of veterans. A lot.
It seems like that Jesse Waters agrees with me that Republicans should stop demonizing federal workers. Yeah. To his point, I know a guy down in Alabama. First time getting a government job. He had, fresh out of college, had been trying to get a job for a couple of years now. Finally got that government job, I think about 6 months ago. Well, he's laid off now. So his kid, his wife, all of that promise, it's totally gone. And I think your point is right. Once people start seeing, because when we think of federal government, for many anti-government people, they think DMV, meaning DC, Maryland, and Virginia. They don't see federal government as someone living in a rural area of Mississippi, commuting to a job at the Department of Agriculture. They don't see them as federal workers, which is why it's always easy to just say, shut them down, they'll get paid.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
And we will find out a lot more stories like that in the coming weeks. Coming up next.
All right. So a lot to unpack there. Full disclosure, the last gentleman that spoke is Malik Abdul. He's certainly a friend of the show. He's been on here multiple times, and he's a Republican. He is a Republican pushing back against DOGE. So I want to see what you guys think on this. First, let's see what people are saying in the chat. You folks, do you think that DOGE has gone too far? I know I asked that before the clip played. Let's see here. All right. We have here Michael Cantwell says it is hard to come off meth. DOGE is the withdrawal. Wow. Yeah. Yes, you are right. So Michael again says no one cried when Biden cut oil jobs. Shaking my head. That's a very good point. Very good point. Laura, thank you so much. Says I have very mixed feelings about DOGE. Okay. That's fair. That certainly is fair. I want to hear what you guys thought. Now I'll go to you, Shelley. What do you think? Is DOGE going too far? We have a Republican on the panel there in Malik who's saying they are.
Yeah. Look, I don't have a problem with anybody expressing his or her opinions for, against, not sure. There was another comment, I want to say Range. He said, I honestly don't know. Look, it's not the people themselves. At least for me, it's not the people or the individuals themselves. It has always been, at least for a long time, that the government is too big. It's too encroaching. The scope has gone just too far in people's lives. So I don't know how we are supposed to reduce the size of government and not affect the actual people that are in the jobs. If we don't do that, we will never reduce it. I want the government as out of my life as much as possible. And more importantly, when did having a government job become the American dream? Or maybe it was and I never knew it.
Well, I want to get you in on this, Tyrone, because, here in the DMV particularly, we have a large segment of African Americans in the DC area and surrounding suburbs of DC who have become very well off of these government jobs. Now, statistics do say, because I'm not sure if it still is, but Montgomery County, PG County, were two areas that contain the largest amount of wealthy African Americans, and many of them are government workers. So some will argue that these government jobs have aided many African Americans in becoming, becoming out of poverty, getting out of poverty. So that, and now we're seeing that, of course, they're cutting the government jobs. What are your thoughts on that exchange and those points?
Well, look, layoffs are always regrettable, right? People, this is their livelihood. They're feeding their families. They're paying the mortgage. I get it. I don't see many people talking about the 1,100 layoffs that were announced at Starbucks today, 8,000 over at Chevron, 1,900 at Porsche. When I got into the corporate world, 6 months after, and I was still in college, 6 months after I started, I came in one day, they said, hey, we're moving this operation to York, Pennsylvania. You can come with us if you want. You could try to look for another job in the company, or you can leave. Okay. And that was my first introduction to the harsh realities of adulthood. And it just so happened that I did find another job with that company, but there are no guarantees. This is 2025. We're well into the 21st century. People, you need an additional stream of income. I've been preaching this for years. If you have one stream of income, I don't give a damn if it's corporate or government, you are riding around town on a unicycle, okay, waiting for that tire to go flat. So folk need to do that. As far as Trump and DOGE, they haven't gone far enough in cutting Okay. Now, the big cuts, and they're starting to realize this, are going to come from the entitlement programs. Listen, my generation and behind is going to have to get comfortable with this fact. Retirement age is going to need to go up. And you know what? Benefits may be cut. So those are the breaks. Welcome to, life in the big city. So as far as it is true, I will agree with the gentleman that commented. It is true that losing a lot of government jobs in the DMV area will have an impact. But guess what? At $37 trillion, guys, we got to figure out, do we want a little pain now or a lot later?
Yeah. Nicole, you know Malik, as we all do, and he said that they've gone too far. What are your thoughts there? He is a conservative, a Republican.
Listen, I like Malik. He makes a mean strawberry cake. He's a good friend, but I will say this. I definitely differ in my opinion with him. And we have this thing at BCF where we can disagree without being disagreeable, right? I disagree. What's happening now is something that should have happened during the Clinton era. He started it. He did a little bit. And progressively, each president has done a little bit more. 2.2 million people working for the government is way too many. Way too many. And they're always hiring, consistently replacing people who retire. So there is no natural attrition in shrinking the size and scope of government. Now, what did they say? When they shut down the pipeline, learn the code? Yeah. How about that? But I will say this. In the DMV, we do have a bevy of people who have worked as career bureaucrats with the federal government. This is going to have an impact on very much Maryland, our big five counties that are revenue-based, and in Virginia. Here's the difference. Virginia has a Republican governor in Glenn Youngkin. Glenn Youngkin's already rolled out Virginia Works. K. Cole James and all of those great folks over there said, listen, we're going to help you with your resume. We're going to assign you some people who are going to help you train up and get prepared for the 250,000 jobs that we have open now. You don't have the skill set because, sitting around the office thinking of acronyms is not something that translates well to the private sector, but we're going to get you trained up so you can have these jobs. Here in Maryland, you know what we're doing? Luxury tax, sin tax. It's a whole brain different. So what's going to happen is we're going to see 2008 all over again. Beautiful homes empty on the inside because they can't afford the furniture, people moving away, leaving their homes unattended. It's going to be difficult because we don't have the proper leadership to drive us through what's going to happen, but it has to happen. It has to happen. It's like when your boyfriend takes away the credit card. You're going, well, what about my shoes? What about my handbags? I got to get my nail, my hair. And he's like, that's enough. We've spent enough. And it sucks for a little while. It's a Band-Aid moment. You get over it, right? Learn the code. We should get t-shirts to say that. Learn the code.
Let me say this real quick.
Well, before you jump in, Tyrell, I wanted you to respond because they're going off on you in the chat. So somebody's Laura says, I paid for Social Security. Mrs. Richie Blackmore said, we pay 30% plus of our income. Don't say Americans deserve nothing. So they're talking about your comment about the coming for the entitlement program. She also says, Mrs. Ritchie says, disagree. We pay taxes into Social Security, Medicare, cut wars, don't hurt Americans. What's your response to that?
Well, don't kill the messenger. Okay. I'm not out there. I'm not the one. I'm not in Congress. Okay. I'm not down there giving your money away to Ukraine. In fact, that's a conflict that I oppose. Because we can't afford it. But in economics, there are realities. And the reality here is that the Congressional Budget Office, so if you got a beef, call them in the morning. The Congressional Budget Office says that by 2034, the Social Security Trust Fund will be insolvent. All right. So that ain't Tyrone saying that. That's the bipartisan Congressional Budget Office. Also, if you want to direct your ire somewhere, Joe Biden increased the federal workforce by 46%. Went from 2.1 million employees to 3 million under Joe Biden. Why did he increase it by almost 1 million employees? Why did he engage in that inflationary act? Because he wanted to play fast and loose and pump up the jobs numbers. Okay. It also gave him the benefit of being able to spend government money, which is accounted for in the gross domestic product, which also makes it look like we weren't in a recession because of government spending. Okay. So all of this chicanery has endangered your money. And I know that the crowd here is generally conservative, but look at Great Britain. Okay. Now, they were once an empire, and they used to say the sun never sets on the British Empire, which meant they were global. Okay. Now they can't even afford to field a military because economic reality has set in. So in order to prevent that from happening here, we need to take this opportunity to tighten the belt and be fiscally responsible. Otherwise, not only will you not get your Social Security, you won't get your Medicare and Medicaid either.
Exactly. And Tyrone, I'm sorry, go KJ. To Tyrone's point, this is what I would ask people. And again, you don't have to agree. We can have different points about DOGE going too far or not far enough, whatever. But economically speaking, for decades, we hear about the Social Security Trust Fund going and solving, like you said. We also know people, I'm sure all of us know people who have needed, if you will, for a disability reason, who have needed Medicare, particularly before they were 65, let alone afterwards, right? And all of the government red tape that they could not get the services that they need. Why do you think that is going to be there for you however long from now, 10 years from now, when it's not even there for people right now? I don't understand that. So from an economic perspective, we also know that the government, as large as it is, does not do well with even a budget that we have to budget. We don't. So why? I don't understand why all these fantasies that people have. Oh, I'm going to wait on the government. You want to work 30, 40 years, your hard work, labor, time, effort, and you want to look forward to somebody giving you $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a month, and you think that is dignity for all that you put in? Are you serious? All I'm saying is, again, disagree all you want, but at least think about it without the emotion. You work too hard to only get back $2,000 of your money, and maybe even $200 if you go before your spouse. That's all they're going to have is $200. Are you serious?
Yeah, and one of the reasons why we have some people who think this way is because the media has been pushing lies. So in 16 days of coverage over the last 16 days, ABC, CBS, and NBC spent a total of 1 minute, 53 seconds actually citing specific dollar amounts that DOGE and President Trump claimed to have saved the American tax dollar. But to the contrary, they spent much more time talking about the federal layoffs, talking about the people who were these people who are getting laid off from their jobs. So the coverage has been inordinately unfair and unequal when you talk about what President Trump has been doing about getting us our money back, and then also featuring the cuts. And so speaking of that, MSNBC recently dropped some insane anti-DOGE propaganda piece of fired workers. This is clip 2. Take a look.
I'm Oleg Shmura.
I am Dr. Ben Andrew.
My name is Cody Anderson.
My name is Katie Sandlin.
My name is Andrew Lennox.
My name is Nick Hand. I'm Riley Ratcliffe.
My name is Jonathan Cammons. I oversaw cybersecurity for the VA.gov website, and about a third of USDS, including me, were fired last week. Without people like me ensuring that VA.gov is secure, the private financial and healthcare data of Americans' veterans is at risk of being stolen, sold to the highest bidder, and used to harm people.
We are standing in Yosemite National Park. For the past 10 months, I was the custodial worker here. I picked diapers off the side of the road, toilet paper, beer bottles, cigarette butts, you name it, so you didn't have to see it.
And I served as the Chief of Safety and Emergency Management at the Philadelphia VA. This was a mission-critical role that ensured the health and safety of all those who entered into our facilities.
I used to be a NEPA coordinator for the Wrangell Ranger District of the USDA Forest Service, where I would coordinate environmental review for projects in and around the town of Wrangell, projects that are crucial to the town's economy and its people.
I moved from Alabama to Maryland to start my new job in genomics education and outreach at the National Institutes of Health. My job was to help educate students, teachers, and healthcare providers about genomics to improve patient care and develop the future scientific workforce.
So there we go. So this was put together by them showing all these people that were laid off. So what do you think? Go ahead.
Let me start. Hi, my name is Nicole Bennett, and I work for a living. I don't use, professional buzzwords to explain what I do for a living, but here's the top 5 of the things that I did last week. Now, consider I took off 2 days because I had to go to the White House and celebrate my birthday. But those other 3 days, I saw 125 people who are trying their best to get a green card to stay here in the United States. I talked to 15 people about syphilis infections. There's that. And saw 176 other patients, trained 2 new doctors, 1 new nurse practitioner, and managed to go to lunch on time and come back every single day. Every single day. Mm-hmm. Welcome to adulthood, folks. Welcome to adulthood. All of this crying and boo-hooing, oh my God, I used to be the tree inspector at Yosemite. Dude, really? We need to pay you $100,000 to pick up diapers? Is that what it needs to be? I mean, at some point, you got to snap out of it and start thinking like a regular person. They have gotten so entitled to our money for very little work. It is ridiculous. There is no, for many of these jobs, there is no private sector translation, because in the private sector, what you do professionally is only one part of somebody's all-day job. Mm. You have to get over this. I know it sounds harsh. Nobody is advocating for everybody to be fired and have a rough time in life, but you do have to stand up. When things happen to you in your life, you got to stand back up. You have to. That's the American way. You don't get to lay around and cry about it all day.
And right. most Americans know that. It just seems like some of the federal workforce, it seems like some of them got a little entitlement thing going on. Mm-hmm. In the company that I used to work for, Verizon, they had an award. It was a company-wide award. They would give it to an individual and they would give it to a team annually. Okay. And one year, a woman got the award, and about 2 months later, they laid her and her whole team off. Mm. And they called it needs of the business. That's what that's a term that if you're in corporate America, you're very familiar with the term needs of the business. Okay. Now, what I did not find after these, we call them RIFs or reductions in force. So if Verizon came out and said, oh, we're going to lay off 1,000 people. Okay. You did not find a corresponding 1,000 people sleeping on park benches in Druid Hill Park. Okay. Mm-hmm. In the next 6 months, people figured it out. I know quite a few people that got riffed and went on, and it was like the best thing that ever happened to them because they went on and did bigger things. Mm-hmm. But look, these commercials don't move me. So I don't know who's putting this out. That doesn't move me. Okay. People get, and somebody was like, oh, the veterans are getting lit. Veterans are people too. I don't believe in this military class thing where veterans are exempt from shit that happens in everyday life to the rest of us. Okay. It's unfortunate, but again, folk need to get another stream of income. And the other thing they do, back to that Social Security argument, you need to start looking at a Roth IRA, all right, a 401k, if wherever you work offers it, right? You're going to have to take some responsibility for your retirement, because I'm going to tell you, if you are putting it all on the United States government, then you better start also looking at some Alpo recipes.
Wait a minute. All right, so I want to get your response to this, Shelley, before we get you in here, because Christie disagrees with all of you. So you guys, I don't know if you saw the news reports, but Elon Musk put out a I don't know if you call it a memoranda or what, but requiring that all federal employees give an account of what they did last week, or there would be some type of repercussion up to firing. And Christie said that is illegal, and Elon Musk was wrong for asking that. This is clip 6.
And for more on the legal fallout from the Trump administration's federal cutbacks, I'm joined now by former New Jersey governor and U.S. Attorney Christie. Good morning, Chris. I want to start with what Elon Musk did on Saturday, which is order all federal employees to list their accomplishments or basically be fired. Can he do that?
Well, no, he can't. Let's look at it a few ways, Martha. First, from a legal perspective, you have a situation where it is a complete overstep for him to be asking people, what did you do in the last week? And then use that as a basis to evaluate whether someone should be retained or fired. As with everybody's employment, things vary from week to week. And I think that if that went to court with an employee who was fired, if Mr. Musk and his minions didn't find what they did in the last week acceptable, there would be very little, if any, legal basis for them to be able to prevail, meaning the government.
Okay, so somebody needs to ask him, well, how much did he eat in the last week? Because he looked bloated as hell. Okay, so we're talking about now, just out today, federal workers filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration over that email sent at Elon Musk's behest, asking employees to list their accomplishments over the past week or risk losing their job. So they filed a lawsuit against that. So Shelley, do you think this is something that he should not have done?
No, I mean, why not? You're just asking people as part of the oversight of the government for government workers, what did you do last week? Okay. Part of it is, I'm going to say strategy. Part of it is that they want to, through OPM, see how many people respond and all of these unmanned email addresses. Okay. These .gov email addresses. Number one. That's number one. Number two, Christie is partly right in that if you don't respond, nobody's going to get fired just for not responding. But there is a method to the madness, if you will. Where are these people? Why has OPM not cleared out the ranks, if you will? Why has OPM not cleared off the books that the jobs that are no longer being filled or necessary? So this is a part of what OPM should have been doing all along, not to mention Congress for overseeing the agencies. Christie, to sum it up, Christie is just one big piece of hot air. He is still angry, fuming, jealous, mad with President Donald J. Trump. That's what all of this is about. Because if it was another president or somebody else had done it, Christie would have been supportive because it would not have been Donald Trump. But all because this is Trump's administration, Christie is just one big piece of whale meat who's upset.
Yeah. Nicole, so Musk defended the request, arguing that a significant number of people who are supposed to be working for the government are doing so little work that they are not checking their email at all. And that he is quoted in town hall saying, "We believe non-existent people or the identities of dead people are being used to collect paychecks." What's your response to that? Yeah.
Listen, I was out to brunch with several staffers and government employee people when their phones were going off with the email. And they all were like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do? I said, answer, right? So you just spent the better part of 45 minutes telling me everything exciting that happened to you during this week, leading your teams and that kind of thing. Then tell him, well, I better check and see if I'm supposed to answer. I said, listen, what harm will it do to answer? What harm will it do to answer? I'm almost absolutely certain that was a part of the reason for sending the email, was to get them into thinking, I'm not supposed to goof off for 8 hours a day. I'm actually supposed to do some things. 8 hours a day, because remember, a lot of these people that are new to the federal government are Trump hires. Keep your eye on the prize, keep your foot on the gas. The expectation is for you to perform, not once a week, not twice a quarter, every single day. Every day that you're in the office, you should be accomplishing something. And it can't be a mission to make a mission about another mission. It cannot be that. Those days don't exist anymore. You have to work for the federal government just like you work for private sector. I ask my employees all the time, what did you do today? I send them a text message from my office. What are you doing? Did you do what I asked you to do? That is a perfectly legitimate question from somebody who's offering oversight to people who we pay to do a particular job. He's not asking them for their social security numbers, their blood type, their mama's maiden name. He's asking people who collect a paycheck to tell me 5 things, just 5 things that you've done
for the whole week.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't see what was the big deal about it. I honestly didn't see what was the big deal about it. I mean, this is something that's standard practice. Some people have a morning meeting where you go over with your team. What do you have planned? What are you working on? What are you going to do for the day? I mean, it was nice that he gave him the whole week. What'd you do last week? Most people do it daily. What's the big deal?
Yeah. And it's simple to quantify. If you're really doing your work, it's simple to quantify. And I think it really is good to have people's mindsets changed from, I've got all week to get this one thing done to I need to be doing something productive every day. I think it's a good look.
Right. Absolutely. I know we have to move on, but I do want to, the chat is going off on something that we said earlier. Looks like Paul Hardrick is questioning when we were talking about how this idea of wokeism and Joy Reid saying that, advocating for books that in elementary, middle school that include, dildos and anal rape and things like that. Those are the books that we were trying to get out of the schools. Looks like Paul is advocating for that. And so he then asks, should the 10 Commandments be required or be in school, or can people should kids not be should that be removed from school? Anybody want to take on that?
I don't understand how you are comparing the 10 Commandments to a book that details the abuse in the worst way of a child. There is no comparison there. So it's an invalid question to begin with.
So exactly. I'm thinking if I saw his comments, I'm thinking he's maybe trying to say, okay, so if the 10 Commandments were taught to children, would parents be able to opt them out or something to that degree? Absolutely, they would be able to do that. But that's fine. So in Maryland here, as we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, parents don't have the right to do that. So yes, if you have another religion or you don't want your children to learn the 10 Commandments, fine, you can opt them out. But guess what? Whatever his name is, Paul, the 10 Commandments are darn near, if not fully, universal. They are not necessarily Christian, if you will. They are universal tenets that have been taught even before they were codified in the Bible as we know it today. So you don't even have the historical perspective there.
Right. That's exactly what I was going to say. Many of the early laws and the early rules and things like that, processes that the founders, the Pilgrims, so many of them who founded the United States, it was based on the 10 Commandments.
Right.
So again, it just goes back to the idea of us being a Judeo-Christian nation. It's just ridiculous, these people who come off with this just stupid stuff. It's lacking morality, and we know that the things like the 10 Commandments, like moral law that generally abides by with the Bible and with Christianity, have helped this nation flourish to the great nation that it has become. So if you think that we're going to continue to flourish, exchanging the 10 Commandments for books like Precious and the boy is blue talking about dildos and rapes and all this type of stuff. You're sick. You're really sick.
And then the other thing is this, again, you know, we need to be taking every minute of every school day to teach something that's going to actually make these kids economically viable whenever they graduate. The whole bunch of kids in these systems can't even read at grade proficiency. So they can't even read the damn book that is being foisted upon them. Okay. So, and look, real quick, one thing that is very positive about Christie's appearance, just going back to that for a minute, is if they are hauling his big ass out to say anything about the administration. I mean, if we get into a Department of Pie eating contest or something like that, Chris will give you a call. But if they're dredging him out, okay, they have no argument. This guy's such a failure. And every time they need a foil, oh, but he's a Republican, they drag
that
him.
kills me.
Absolutely.
That kills me when they do that. You know, they find the person who's the closest aligned to their point of view and slap that GOP strategist across their chest. That thing really burns me up because, you know, no one speaks for an entire party of people. Right. No one does. Even our chairman, they have vice chairs and leaders that have differing opinions. No one's a monolith. And quite surely, I'm sure there are a few Republicans in New Jersey who still like pork chop. Make no mistake. But generally speaking, he does not speak for the rank and file of Republicans across this nation. He just does not.
No, and I mean, hey, look, if we send the military to take over Horn and Horn, then Chris, after we get them, we'll put you in charge of it, okay? But until that mystical day happens, or Golden Corral, until that happens, then Christie, just shut up.
Yeah,
just shut up.
He makes it difficult for everybody. He makes it difficult.
We do want to acknowledge our super chatters here, folks. Thank you all so much. All right, let's see what we have here. Gimpy says, says Malik is a grifter grifting for a seat on the CNN panel. He will say whatever they want for the money. Wow. All right, Gimpy. Thank you for your $5 super chat. All right. Kung Fu CJ says, preach, Shelly. All right. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Kung Fu. He also says, Tyrone has the answers. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Nicole, most of Clinton's cuts were military.
They were. Yeah. He reduced the force. Mm-hmm.
All right. At last, Satisfied Patriot with the $10 super chat says, we appreciate hearing truth, ladies and gentlemen. This nation would have surely been robbed of it greatly if Kamala Walsh made it in. I would judge by this time we would be lost.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, we are. We got to start something with the whatever day we are for President Trump in office. We got to do like the 7-day countdown for Christmas. We got to do it for MAGA. Yeah, because this has been a wonderful. I mean, I'm not a winter person, and here in Maryland, it's very cold, you know, here over the last couple of days. But goodness gracious, this whole Trump, everything Trump has been doing, the nominees, getting now we see Joy Reid has been fired. It's like my summer. It's a summer for me. The flowers are blooming for me. I can smell the roses. This has been a divine time, and I just pray that it continues.
It is. There's some good stuff coming. There are a couple of really robust bills, kind of making agriculture a little bit more prominent, where they're going to be requiring people to work if you're able-bodied in order to get SNAP benefits. They are withdrawing Medicaid from illegal aliens. It's going to save us about $7 billion with a B dollars. So there are lots of beautiful things that are about to come spewing out of this pipe. Again, Team Trump moving on like one organism with your foot on the gas. They're not going to stop. They are not going to stop.
Absolutely. Well, finally, I want to talk about, as we end near the end of February, which is designated Black History Month. We know the White House welcomed many African Americans to the White House this past week. Nicole was one of the invited, but the mainstream media went nuts. Take a look at this. This is clip 3.
He also mentioned at the same time that there were going to be statues of Kobe Bryant and Muhammad Ali. So it just seems a little hypocritical that you would be doing everything in your power to sort of outlaw the teachings of what, say, a Muhammad Ali stood for. Like, are you going to tell people that he stood against war, that he stood against these very progressive civil rights issues? That doesn't seem to be the part of it. And what I noticed there from that clip is that he had to read letter by letter about what these people, what these great Americans have done in terms of progress for our country, because it's not something he's familiar with and not something that is natural for him. So I consider this to be an insult, a slap in the face. And frankly, all the people that attended this, look, I guess God bless you if you've never been to the White House and maybe you looked at it as some kind of great experience. But everything this president has stood for and done in the last decade or so has been a complete rejection of what Black history is.
All right. So, Nicole, what is your response to that rant that Jemele Hill made?
You know, so here's the thing with Black female Democrats. Let's just call it what it is. There is so much hatred. These are people who, if they could round up every Black Republican and kill us all, they would. We are, quote unquote, the crabs that got out of the barrel. We are free thinking individuals. We were invited to the White House. Mostly everybody who was there was because before you've attended a Trailblazer event where we honor Black legislators, Black people who are enhancing the movement. Most of the people who were there were invited there because they've been the Trailblazers before. My organization, of course, was invited because we helped significantly with the win for Donald Trump for both terms, but most specifically this term. But what she's saying is not true. And oh, by the way, he's the president of the United States. Before he got to us, he made 3 other speeches. No one's anticipating him remembering every word of every speech. Remember, Joe Biden couldn't read from a teleprompter and Kamala Harris can't read. Let's just put that out there. She stumbled over the teleprompter. She stumbled with the earpiece. She just could not get it together. Public speaking is not supposed to be the president's forte. Leading the nation, being the top executive is. The fact that he had Tiger Woods there with him, he had a former Mr. Olympia there with him, and a bevy of Black Republicans and conservatives that went from the entertainment field with Terrence J. all the way up to the gentleman scholar, Delano Squires, speaks not only to who he is as a person, but to our movement. We're growing, and I get it. It's biting you in the butt. It's biting you in the butt. But take a look at your own industry before you come for us. Take a look at what you do for a living. How many Black reporters does The Atlantic have? Let's talk about how many Black people were on ESPN with you. How about on your TNT show? And I'm not talking about the key grips and sound guy. How much on-air talent? So when you talk about Black people kicking in doors and what they know and what they don't know, check your house first before you come over here. We're good over here, fam. We had a great time.
Yeah, Shelley, what are your thoughts there on that rant?
Yeah, I had to listen to that twice because I'm pretty sure Jemele Hill didn't mean to say, or she didn't mean what she said. When she said Muhammad Ali was against all of these progressive civil rights movements. And I had to listen to that again. And so actually I guess it was a Freudian slip, because you mean that Muhammad Ali was not for Black people making themselves victims? I like that in Muhammad Ali. Do you mean that Muhammad Ali was he would have been, anti-transing children and telling boys that they can be girls and girls that can be boys? I kind of like that from Muhammad Ali. So Jemele Hill, that's how ignorant and stupid you are. You actually made the point for us and for President Trump, for that matter, particularly in Black History Month. Muhammad Ali would have been against, certainly Black people tearing up their own families and communities. My Jemele Hill, you actually said something and you didn't even know that's what you said. That's why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And granted, I don't always follow that progression myself, but we do.
Yeah. Tyrone, what are your thoughts on what she said?
Well, I really don't give a damn what she thinks. Greg Lamont Hill, Jemele Hill. I don't think there's any relation there. Roland Martin. There's several others that have been jockeying for this position to replace Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. That's over. Okay, that whole grift, that's done. All right. For one thing, it's too easy to find these step and fetch it Negroes that are willing to, take a couple of $1,000, say whatever the hell you want them to say, like Jemele Hill. So they're not going to be able to position themselves as the leader for Black people, which is what they were going for, right? But it's failed time and time again with her, Greg Lamont Hill, and Roland Martin. They all were part of, the mainstream, and now they're not, right? So I'm not into. These people don't rise to the level of importance where I have to explain my ideology to them, especially if they're not interested in a real dialogue, right? So if you want to throw barbs, then she did. She also said when she was referencing Martin Luther King Jr., he wasn't about wars, and neither is Trump. Trump's trying to get us out of it. Okay, so these people, I'm not into wasting my breath explaining myself to the likes of a failure like Jemele Hill. To me, these people are the ones that said, okay, thanks, General Sherman, for letting us know the Civil War is over, but we're going to make a deal with Master and stay right here on this plantation. Yeah, we are runaway slaves, okay? And they are the ones that remain on the plantation. Yes, a boss picking cotton and doing whatever the hell else their white paymasters want them to do.
I guess Jamal Bryant wanted to, what he was trying to embarrass her. I said, hell, I'm glad he called me a runaway slave.
Exactly.
Right. With Jamal Bryant.
Yeah, Sage still is there, so she can call Sage and ask her what happened.
Right. Yeah. Right. And let's not forget Jamal Bryant, who tucked his tail between his legs and ran the hell out of Baltimore City when that guy confronted him. Okay, all y'all down in Atlanta worshiping this idiot, he was literally run out of Baltimore City.
Yeah, literally. And these people are such, especially these women, they're such bitter biddies. I can't even stand to even watch them and speak and they listen to them speak. They sit there with this smug look on their faces, looking miserable. Honestly, I would say, and I hate to keep going back to her, but actually seeing Joy Reid cry today, that actually made her look somewhat better. Because in most other days, she's just sitting there miserable, nasty, spitting out vile lies. And at least today, you could tell that she did. It was actually heartfelt because she's getting canned, so you could see some real emotion there. It wasn't just nasty smugness, miserable woman sitting there with blonde hair on top of her head. She was actually, you could tell she was. It was real. It was very, very real. So, I said it last night. All of them are, slowly but surely, hopefully they will all get canned one by one, and then we will see them out on the street corner doing man on the streets as Don Lemon is.
That's
begging.
They're going to the Don Lemon fields. That's what they're all going to, the Don Lemon
Absolutely.
fields.
Absolutely. So that does it for us tonight, guys. Folks, thank you all so much for watching. Did I get all the super chats there? Okay. Yep. Laura, thank you so much with the $10 super chat. She says, I love Poppin' Politics and the chats. Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much. All right. We will be back on Wednesday, this week, Wednesday at 8 p.m. live. So if you have not done so already, please hit that like button and the notification bell so that way you know when we go live. But we'll be back at 8 p.m. Tomorrow, you can watch the All-American Talk Show right here, the All-American Talk Show, actually on that channel, the YouTube channel, All-American Talk Show. So you can catch them there, and then we will be back on Wednesday. All right. Any final thoughts, everybody? Any final thoughts? All right.
Wednesday, March 5th, Purple Rain is back in the movie theaters with special audio. It's a one-day only event, only at the AMC theaters. So get your tickets super early. Super early. It should be a bunch of fun.
That should be fun.
Nice. Yeah.
The last thing I want to say is, Anna, I'm coming for you.
Oh,
I'm coming. I don't like that. I don't like that. These wenches, these hens or whatever. I'm coming for you, Anna. We got to play that clip. We got to find it and play it because I want y'all know what I'm talking about. I didn't like that.
All right. Well, we may have that ready then on Wednesday. Until next time, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.
We should note, again, and you and I have said this in the air many times, there is no evidence that Joe Biden was, involved in any wrongdoing.
Of course, want to note that there is no evidence that Joe Biden or Hunter Biden has done anything wrong.
I just want to reiterate.
And let's be clear for the viewers.
There is no evidence Biden did anything wrong.
Governor, you got a second?
Literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
This is why independent media is so important. Thanks to people like you, patriots who love America and stand for truth, we're making a difference. Together, we've turned them off, called them out for their lies and propaganda, and held them accountable for their disdain for God-fearing, freedom-loving Americans like us. But we can't stop here. It's time to take action with our dollars. Let's make 2025 the year we double down on our commitment to values-driven choices. Vote with your dollars. Support Made in America. Back companies that honor our families, faith, and country. We found an exciting way to make this switch, and we want you to join us. Check out www.popandswitch.com and click Yes, I Want to Make the Switch. It's that easy. It's time to walk away from corporations like BlackRock and Vanguard that undermine our principles. Let's invest in America. Let's support businesses that share our love for this country. You don't have to take on everything at once, but you can start here. Join us in making this one small yet powerful step. Visit www.popandswitch.com. Click the link and schedule a call with our team to learn how you can make the switch. Together, we can create real change.